before the climber leaves the ground, the climber and belayer will go through a ritual that looks like this. On belay, belay on, climbing, climb on. So I want to show you why this communication is important and what we use it for by showing you some examples of what can go wrong if this communication doesn't happen correctly. So in the first example, the climber is tied in, is still on the ground, and there's slack in the system. At this point, the climber should say on belay. The belayer should take up the slack and say belay on. But this communication doesn't happen, and the climber just says climbing. The belayer says climb on, thinking they can take in slack fast enough. They realize quickly how much slack there is in the system, try to take it up, but it's too late. The climber falls and hits the ground. So we issue the on belay, belay on exchange so that the rope is tensioned before the climber starts climbing, and that gives the belayer plenty of time to take in slack as the climber moves up the wall. The second example I want to show is where the climber is on the ground, the climber has said on belay, the belayer has pulled up all the slack in the system, and the belayer says belay on. At this point, the climber would say climbing when they were ready to climb. But the climber doesn't say that. The climber looks up at the route, starts to look for the handholds and footholds, and the belayer realizes that the climber is doing this, so the belayer gets distracted. Maybe they start talking to somebody over here. The climber thinks that the belayer is still paying attention and doesn't issue the climbing command to get their attention on the climber. The climber starts climbing up. The belayer is still talking over here. Unaware that the climber is climbing, the climber thinks the belayer is still paying attention and falls and hits the deck. So after we've issued the on belay, belay on, we still issue the climbing, climb on exchange so that the climber knows that the belayer is paying attention and that the belayer knows that they need to pay attention and that the climber is going to be climbing.